Yeah, just again, head of GTM advisory here at MedKudu. MedKudu is actually a predictive scoring platform, and also we have a lot of data supply chain features allow you to basically operate with a CDP or product data aggregation platform as well. So being able to do all of those things and then be able to score effectively. So talk about three incredible conversion plays that we have that we've talked about, which is the first is actually a beginner example using MedKudu scoring allows you to get 30% more efficient SDR team simply by prioritizing your inbound reaches and making sure that high fit prospects are put in front of those SDRs. Only, and then automatically nurturing the rest. Intermediate play that basically resulted in 2x MQL to open operate that we'll go over. That's a little bit longer term play. And then also an advanced play, where we saw some conversational AI leveraged in order to take advantage and increase the meeting book rate from inbound leads. Like I said, that last one, leveraging artificial intelligence. Cool. So in terms of the beginner example, we're going to talk about the problem. So a GTM team with overwhelmed SDRs, they were being passed too many leads. There was no insight on quality or no way to prioritize. And really that resulted in haphazard outreach to the inbound segment. The hypothesis really being with lead scoring, reps could ignore the low fit leads and prioritize ones most likely to convert. And this would, of course, reduce their workload, lead to more thoughtful outreach, and also allow for, just targeting those that would result in similar revenue to those deals that you had that they were closing traditionally. So in terms of the process, of course, putting the scoring in place and then routing those low and medium fit leads in terms of customer fit based on historical data to an automated nurture track, whereas then routing good and very good leads directly to SDRs for a one-to-one outreach. So in terms of the results, that actually brought about a 30 to 40% increase in efficiency for the SDR group. Effectively a lower lead volume that allowed for more research and personalization, greater efficiency, more meetings, more bread, and the same potential revenue based on the target opportunities. And effectively the ROI computed based on the build cost into additional FTE time savings was approximately 5x. So pretty strong to have 500% ROI off of that particular play. Cool, we'll keep it rolling. Intermediate example being around 2x MQL to open operate. The problem really was, when you have a traditionally built or rubric-based scoring methodology, there's a lack of trust that can result in traditionally qualified leads. So poor alignment between sales and marketing in terms of what was being surfaced versus what was actually being put through on the inbound funnel. Quality MQLs and accounts by extension were dying on the vine. And the hypothesis really here is to look at the fact that with an updated model that incorporated the sales feedback, marketing could drive the leads that sales actually desired, and sales could sort through the volume, find the highest quality leads. So really, it's more than anything an efficiency play, and really looking at how to get that same amount of revenue with less time, less money, and making sure that, of course, the throughput was more effective. So this is an interesting point, and that really the implementation of this is operated within the CRM. So once the predictive scoring model is built and that data is being pushed through based off of historical conversion data, the filtering out of low scored leads in terms of your actual MQL definition would lead to a increased focus on those particularly qualified leads coming from MedKudu, The interesting thing here is that the cohorts that this particular customer configured were based on the new model qualification versus a legacy model qualification, which was a standard Marketo-based point-based system. So in terms of that approach, looking at those two-track cohorts down funnel and through the sales process from lead to opportunity to close, and they actually looked at this for a few months. So they ran it in parallel. And then finally, what they were seeing was that, based on optimized scoring, looking at specific deal size by segment, there was a significantly higher average deal size. And of course, that would rebuild trust by only serving up those high quality leads to their reps. So that resulted in a 2x MQL to open off conversion. It also carried all the way through to a 2x conversion rate on closed one. So actually doubling that as well. So it remained consistent throughout the funnel. And then finally, what's interesting as well in terms of the efficiency, so is 17% reduction in MQL volumes with only a 1 to 2% reduction in total pipeline value. And that was actually based on historical analysis. So looking back over time at what had actually converted or would have not converted based off of the new scores. And of course, more bread, but in this case, per person per hour. And then the advanced example that I wanted to walk you through is, an aggressive example and something that requires a certain amount of infrastructure to potentially orchestrate. However, in this case, the problem was that there were inefficient SDRs and a lack of ROI. So how do you solve that, right? There was a lack of standardized messaging and outreach tactics. There was too much time lost on researching accounts, buying committee, and also writing copy in order to customize that messaging. And effectively, the results were not really matching the growth expectations of this particular company. So the hypothesis is really with accurate firmographic scoring and segmentation that marketing operations could actually incorporate more automation and increase the velocity and effectiveness of the middle funnel in terms of moving from that qualification to meeting booked. So in terms of, again, this is going to be leveraging AI. And if you haven't seen Ex Machina, that's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. But in this case, the bot actually helping significantly in the overall process. And the examples here. So hand raisers still went through normal channels for booking. Those, of course, went on to SDRs and then AEs. There was a parallel routed sample of high grade, basically matrix by fit and also likelihood to buy. So looking at behavioral and customer fit models, that those leads would actually go to a conversational AI instead of SDRs. And so the sample there was cordoned off and routed in parallel. And then, of course, that AI leveraged content and appropriate responses to provide the nurture. Again, not a low-cost experiment, not an easy one to necessarily execute on, but it's interesting to see the results here because it resulted in a 75% meeting booked rate, and an increase of 75%. So it actually went from 4% to 7% from that qualification to meeting booked, and that's effectively a 75% increase in the conversion. Lower lead volume for SDRs effectively, also makes for a potentially better outreach and response as well for those hand raisers and the qualifications that would be occurring otherwise. So it's effectively a win-win. That's, again, a qualitative aspect. It's not necessarily a statistical point, but if you just think in terms of the business case, absolutely valid. And then effectively that results in more bread, and in this case with no people involved. So interesting to see, and also a potentially scary point, but something that was really fascinating to see in terms of the particular operations and this particular case. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, Drew. I feel like you just covered 3 conversion secrets in one. I feel like we got like a buy one, get 2 free deal going on here. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you got it. My pleasure.
All right. So let's take a look at the audience here. Any questions for Drew from all of his 3 different conversion secret plays? And I see that Zach has been answering some of these, but maybe we want to go over them just in case here. So Jawan's asking you, what tools did you use for the predictive lead scoring creation?
Yeah, so actually that's what MadKudu does. So we actually are a predictive platform. We actually have the ability to ingest and target specific conversion outcomes within your funnel. And we actually do that at the inbound motion, lead, and contact level. And we also do that in terms of an outbound motion around MQAs and also account fit.
Hopefully that answers your question, Jawan. And Zach also mentioned for the conversational AI piece, you guys use Conversica, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I've implemented Conversica myself in another role when I was at Jitterbit. And that it's actually pretty clean in terms of its conversational AI. It's really gotten better over time as well. And it's really interesting when you have those first couple of initial touches and the conversation can be run by a bot effectively. It's interesting that the standardization of that seems to play out well in terms of that first meeting book.
Everything else I would have to go through like beyond Salesforce, which is a bit harder to.
Awesome. Moving on to the next question here from Jim. Does what you've done eliminate duplicate leads, redundant accounts, and improve account matching as well?
It does actually, because so MadCode actually looks at normalizing everything around the domain, and then if you're using Salesforce, we also take into account the account and overall parent-child hierarchy, as well as the account and contact hierarchy as well.
Jim, does that answer your question there? Let me know.
Yeah, because we normalize everything. We do normalize, Jim, just around the domain first and foremost. So that's the way that we're able to identify off of just that individual record. If there were duplicate records in your system, we wouldn't count them twice.